Welcome to lesson 13 of our AI Bootcamp for non-technical investors. So today we're going to take a step beyond what probably 90% of vibe coders have done. So we can consider ourselves advanced after today. What we're going to do is use GitHub to store a stock screener that we are going to build that's going to use the FMP API key. Now, what is significant about this? Well, Git is a way to control versions of whatever software you're developing, or better said, what Claude Code will be developing for you with your approval and guidance. And so that's the underlying technology. And then GitHub, I think it's owned by Microsoft, is a place where we can store our repository. It's our repository of the code that we develop, and it allows us to access earlier versions of the code. It basically is, if you think of Dropbox as something where we can store files and even have version control on those files, well, GitHub does that for code. Now, I understand you might be wondering, how does this apply to a course for non-technical investors? Are we supposed to start being programmers here? And that's a fair point, but I believe we have arrived in a world where even non-technical people, if you want to use AI to its full extent, or at least to a much greater extent than 90% of folks that are playing around with AI, we're going to have to get into some of these areas that until now have felt as realms just for programmers. So I've never used GitHub before. In this lesson, I'm setting up a free GitHub account, a repository, and learning how to put this stock screener that we're going to develop today and in the next few lessons. And actually, why do we need our own stock screener? There's plenty of commercial ones out there. Well, with AI, we can develop a stock screener that combines quantitative and qualitative criteria much better. We can customize it much more. We just have a ton more control over what it does, how we want to use the output. And so there is a ton of value to doing this for ourselves. And FMP, via its API, whether it's the free API, but more likely one of their low-cost subscriptions, which again cost the maximum cost is $1,000 a year, and you get access to global data. So it's well worth it. And again, I don't want to become a programmer myself. This is not what this is about. But I think basically just fluency in the new world of AI and agents and using them to help us accomplish things requires us to understand what Git is, what GitHub is, and how to use those things at, certainly not an advanced level, but we need to know enough to be dangerous in a sense to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. So at the end of this course, I'll have a longer video on everything I learned and maybe a few philosophical observations about what's happening with AI, because I feel like there's a lot going on that we're not fully appreciating at the moment. AI has been promised as a way of automating the things we do, making life easier, but I'm certainly finding myself working a lot more. And I hear that a lot of folks that are playing with AI are experiencing the same thing. Mark Andreessen mentioned this in a recent Joe Rogan interview, where he talked about knowing many super smart folks who are now basically, he calls them AI zombies, where they don't even sleep because they feel like they can accomplish so much with AI, and it's fun to do that and you're super productive. But at the same time, it can also be frustrating, and it certainly can come at the expense of other things. And so I'm going to address those topics in the kind of final video of this course. But for today's lesson, suffice it to say, we're going to start building an actually usable stock screening tool for ourselves, and we will do it in the right way by using GitHub.